New interiors are getting added to the game, and it's looking like a huge breakthrough for the Lethal Company modding community. The code for Lethal Company's interiors is complicated enough to where, despite the proliferation of Lethal Company mods, there have only been 2 modded interiors added to the mod store, but that all changed this week. Back when I was watching the Thunderstore page more closely, I came across the LethalLevelLoader API, and I had high hopes that this would be the answer to the modded interior problem. While it wasn't the first API to come out to support modded interiors, it is the first one that multiple people have actually used in order to add their own interiors to the game. The fact that multiple modders have found success while using this API sets an exciting precedent for the future of modded Lethal Company, especially when nearly 1 million people have already downloaded this API. We covered the new bunker dungeon that comes with a more interior mod, so in this video we'll be covering the other interior that I mentioned there. The interior in question is the Scarlet Devil Mansion by Alice, which draws inspiration from the mansion of the same name in the Touhou series. The mod is currently in its alpha state, but Nico and I had a fine experience playing on it, and the mod team shows a kind of creativity that makes me look forward to what they have in store for this mod. For starters, this is the first interior to change what the vents look like. On this map, the vents were changed into summoning sigils, and they light up when something is spawning from them. On top of that, this is also the first interior to include its own custom enemy, the Knight. The Knight seems to be a slower version of the coil head that spawns from its statue locations instead of the summoning sigils, which means that this mod is also the first mod to introduce a new way for enemies to spawn into the game. Another nice touch in this mod is that the fire exits always lead to a garden area, which introduces the first interior tile to actually be an exterior. I've always thought about how cool it would be if an interior was actually just an instanced outdoor map, so I'm hoping that someone out there will find inspiration from this garden and make that vision a reality. The roadmap for this mod is pretty exciting, as Alice plans to not only polish up what already exists, but also add quite a few gameplay elements that we haven't yet seen in the modding space. I'm excited to see what they mean by adding new dungeon mechanics, and the addition of new Touhou themed enemies as well as a Touhou themed moon only seems appropriate for the course that they've laid out for this mod. That said, while all these concepts and ideas are cool, there's always one thing that trumps aesthetic and variety when it comes to these mods, and that's how the game actually plays. So how does the dungeon play in practice? This mansion is intended for the snowy moons only, Rand, Dine, and Titan, so it's natural to not only expect a certain level of difficulty when playing with this mod, but also an appropriate level of scrap to match the risk of landing on these moons. It also seems that Alice took extra care in curating the dungeon generation process by modifying the code in a way that causes the dungeon branches to be more fleshed out without making the dungeon itself too big. This custom code increases the loading time for each map and might even cause some bugs according to the store page, but Nico and I were able to play on it just fine after a bit of a wait, and bugs are expected for alpha releases anyways. I personally appreciate this approach to dungeon generation because sometimes when I'm exploring a map in Lethal Company, paths will lead to a dead end a lot sooner than expected, and I'll be forced to go deep down one way rather than wide across many different ones. On every day I played with this mod, however, it didn't matter which way Nico and I went because there was always a new room to explore, and the flow from room to room felt pretty natural. I like that even though there were infinitely many rooms to loot, that it wasn't a death sentence to keep going since it was realistic to be able to return to an entrance and make an escape, so long as you were competent at navigating maze-like structures. So if waiting a little bit for a map to load means I can have a better experience playing on it, so be it. I'm here for it. And it was likely because of this custom dungeon generation that the scrap spawns felt the most natural of all the modded interiors and even modded moon experiences that I've played on by far. Whenever I play on modded environments, both the scrap and enemy spawns tend to be far and few in between, but with this dungeon, Nico and I were able to find scrap just fine. That said, I'm not sure if the mod is currently affecting indoor enemy spawn rates because the 3 days we spent playing on this mansion felt super safe compared to what we normally face on each of these moons. On our 3 days there, we faced some snare fleas, some spore lizards, one night coilhead variant, one masked, and I did get haunted once, but we didn't face anything else during our playthrough, and I feel like that's pretty light, especially considering how much time we spent on each moon. But it is what it is, maybe we just got super lucky. The important part is that the Scarlet Devil Mansion is a new and functional modded interior, and as long as interiors like these continue to exist, there remains hope for more custom dungeons to be added to the game in the near future. The More Interiors team is already adding to their arsenal of custom dungeons, saying that the bunker dungeon is just the first of many, and while Alice seems to be focusing more on polishing their existing mod, the fact that 2 separate modders have used the LethalLevelLoader API to this degree of success only means that others will start finding it too. Because of this development, I'll start watching the Thunderstore mod page more closely again to see if and when any new interiors come out. So subscribe if you want to keep up with the latest modded interiors for Lethal Company, and let me know if I've already missed any in the comments below. But that's all I have for this video. Until next time, I hope you all have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.